Thank you, and thank you for inviting me here. This is my first time to Boone, but as a matter of fact, I have a lot of apparel that has 3 letters on it, ASU, and so does Vance. So, but it's Arizona is the first part of that. So we're both Sun Devils, but I think I've fallen in love with this campus already. It's a beautiful setting, and obviously the business school here is taking on this topic head on. So that's kudos to you. Yeah, so she did an introduction, which I'm going to have to talk to my comms guy about because there's just way too much in there. And I do focus on our sustainable operations, but in this presentation, I'm going to step back and kind of introduce you to the broader picture of Walmart and how it approaches global responsibility and sustainability specifically, and then dig into sustainable operations and then the value chain and how we work with suppliers, all in 30 minutes. So bear with me, and definitely if we don't get to any topic you want to talk to me about, I mean, honestly, I could spend the whole day and invite people from Walmart to talk on all these different topics that I'm going to cover today. So I'm just scratching the surface, but come find me during the receptions or afterwards, or we can exchange cards or whatever. So with that said, I also have thought a lot about what a spirit animal Walmart is, since I've already been called a gorilla, an elephant, and then a horse. So I really want us to change it. I think we're a big blue whale is more of, because we're big, maybe we move kind of slow, but we are very threatened by climate change, overfishing, all these topics of sustainability. So I think we're going to, and people like blue whales too, so we want to. So yeah, so that's my intro. She already said how many facilities we have. I split my time between the U.S. and international division. We have, people know us for being an American company, but we actually have more facilities internationally as well. So about 6,000 facilities in 28 countries, basically, and then we source from about 50 different countries if you put it all together. We serve 270 million customers every week. I don't know what the population in the U.S. is right now, but it's not 350, Mr. Facts here. That's great. So it's not, that's a lot of business, that's a lot of transactions, and a lot of opportunity to do something better than we did it yesterday. So with that, she mentioned 2005. I'd like to think that, just the start of our company with Sam Walton, he really saw potential to help people live better through lowering the cost of goods. And so he took prices that only big cities could achieve through and bring it to kind of small middle America, and that was his bread and butter. And that's how we were so successful in the early years. But I think the crossroads was in 2005. The Katrina happened, and really Walmart had an opportunity to step up because there was the emergency response was failing at the time, and so Walmart actually, our vehicles were one of the first to enter New Orleans and provide critical water and clothing and food, and I think at that point we felt really good about that response, and I think our executives thought, and specifically the CEO at the time, how could we do this? How could we leverage our assets, our size, our scale, our sophisticated network to really do good all the time and create, the term shared value, I think, has reached a commonplace now, but I think shared value is definitely our mission when we think about all of these things. How do we grow our business, obviously make money, but how do we do that while improving people's lives? First, it was through saving the money, but we think it's broader than that, creating economic opportunity, providing a long-term sustainable environment, et cetera. But our 3 aspirational goals that we set out with was to be powered or supplied by 100% renewable energy. I think we were one of the first companies to come out and say that. A lot more have done that since. To create zero waste in our operations, and to sell products that sustain people and the environment. And so those still are our 3 kind of aspirations that we know we still are on our journey towards, but there are North Stars that allow us to go after those. And since then, we've also added other things around social aspects that I won't go into too much detail, but things like wages, healthcare, things that historically we've been criticized for, frankly. So that was over 10 years ago now, 13 years ago. We've been pretty successful, I'd say, but we still have a long road ahead of us. And we've probably haven't told our story as well as we should have, but those that kind of dig into the numbers, people that are in this space and evaluate companies, know that we are doing we're using this leverage and this strength for good. And so actually we were Fortune puts out a companies that changed the world list, and they started in 2015, and we were the only company to make it in the top 15 for 4 consecutive years. And each time it's for a different reason. Most recently it was Project Gigaton. Last year it was for our chemicals policy and what we're doing with suppliers on green chemistry. And then some other, the other two I can't remember right now, but just big things that we got other people are recognizing us for. So of course I'm saying good things about Walmart, but I just want to throw these up, inform you that how others are thinking about us as well. And so this is a survey result, a third-party survey of consumer branded companies that about 163 of them, and they were asked a series of questions, but one of the ones I'm just highlighting here is, which company has biggest influence on your sustainability programs? And we do hear this a lot in kind of one-off conversations, and we knew this was happening, but this study actually confirmed it for us that by far our programs are helping to drive supply chain action. And I've been approached by several suppliers that say that Walmart was probably the main reason they even have a sustainability program, or they didn't let it go during the recession, or that kind of thing. So, and that makes us proud and makes us want to do more, right? So this video here is just I'm going to stop talking and let this video play. It just kind of recaps the last 10 years, just kind of hits on the highlights, and you get to hear from more people about what we've been able to accomplish in the first 10 years.
For your businesses and for the Walmart customer.
The company set some big goals: to be powered by 100% renewable energy, to create zero waste, to sell products that sustain people and the environment.
Part of our job is to bring along a supply chain so that everybody in the world has access to safe, healthy food that is delivered in an increasingly transparent manner.
How you bring your products to the customers, it's not just a trend, it's something that is the wave of the future.
I also love Walmart because they're really on their own, without having government tell them to do it, but they on their own said, we want to be green, we want to go and reduce our carbon footprint, and so that's really very admirable, and I'm very happy about that.
We wanted to bring together the scale of Walmart around sustainability, the power of technology that we're doing here, and to integrate it into our shopping experience, because that's where it really makes a difference.
We can improve people's lives. We can actually find a way to give opportunity to everyone.
Because what's good for the environment, for society, for public health, is also good for business.
They're working to empower nearly 1 million women through training who are learning to become part of the process for getting food from farm to table.
These issues represent a gateway for Walmart in becoming the most competitive and innovative company in this world.
More and more companies like Walmart are realizing that wasting less energy isn't just good for the planet, it's good for business.
We're committed to increasing our fleet efficiency by 25% in the next 3 years and doubling it in 10 years.
When I see a company like Walmart launch an initiative like this, I feel more hopeful than ever before.
So from fields, from factories, from oceans, from farms, all the way to the hands and the homes of our customers, we can rewire the system.
So none of those people were paid for that, honestly. We didn't never pay speakers. Some of those from our Saturday morning meetings, she mentioned our shareholders events. These celebrities come to us because they hear about what we're doing, and it works out because we don't want to pay them either, because we're so cheap like that. And they're all there for different reasons. Michelle Obama was working on our nutrition and trying to help out with food deserts in urban areas. And Hugh Jackman's all about hunger relief. Tom Cruise is about a number of things. Arnold was talking about that. He was just promoting Terminator 3 or 4 or whatever, and just started talking off about sustainability, which is cool because, gotta admit, he was one of my heroes growing up. So, yeah, so that was the first 10 years. And so in 2015 or 14, we started to, I joined the team. I've been on the team for 3 years, the corporate affairs sustainability team. I should have started with that. I came in through real estate for my first 3 years. So I've been with Walmart almost 7 years now, and kind of working for Walmart indirectly for over 10 years. Actually, worked for the Applied Sustainability Center for a little bit on that journey. So in any case, I had the opportunity to be part of the team that kind of developed what is the next 10 years going to look like. And we did materiality assessment and, with thousands of interviews, and looked at those. We talked to the business. We looked at the critical issues. I mean, when you're the size of Walmart, the global issues are your issues almost. Like it's hard to think about a topic from labor to deforestation. I mean, everything hits our doorstep in some way, or people try to bring it to our doorstep. Either way, and so we have to be have to prioritize, and so we did that. But the way we generally think about our ability to do the good is broken up basically in these 6 categories. Our mission, like I said, is to create shared value, and we want to change the system. We're not here just to do one-off projects or temporary fixes and Band-Aids. We really, our leader right now, Chief Sustainability Officer Kathleen McLaughlin, has really championed systems change, and so all of our strategies roll up to changes in the system, a future that we want to get to, and I'm really thrilled to be a part of that, creating those frameworks. We want to lead through the business. We have a small sustainability team, as most companies do, so we really want to empower the business, and we've kept it small and purposely small because we want to enable the business to actually get involved and do. I'm not buying steel. I'm not making decisions about product purchases. The merchants do that. That's their business. But if we can bring them along, be advisors, help them think differently, that's our goal. We use philanthropy. I think in combination of in-kind and direct donations, we donated $1.3 billion last year. And we try to use that strategically. And so we have teams that really look at what are the philanthropic strategies that have sustainability implications. And so that's a whole nother discussion. And then what are our strengths? There's certain things we don't do that we're not going to get involved with because we just don't have any leverage there. So look at our strengths, use those to our advantage. And then, of course, collaborating with others. We're just a retailer, honestly. We buy stuff, we sell stuff. That's what we do. So as much power people think we have, at the end of the day, that's what we do. And so we have to really depend on collaboration. And some of these issues take multiple stakeholders, government, our suppliers, our customers to solve. And so we really leverage the collaboration arm and been pretty successful at it. So again, I mentioned we set out on a journey to define a roadmap for the next 10 years. Doug spoke at Net Impact. He gave an hour-long keynote there that included all of our new commitments, which I couldn't fit it all on the page. There's a lot of them, but the next few slides I'm kind of organize the high-level aspects of that. And so how we think about global responsibility is more than just environmental sustainability. It might have started off that way, but now we really think about 3 pillars. We think about opportunity, and that has to do with advancement of our associates. How can they advance their career while working for Walmart? So that's a whole work stream. Sustainability, which is the big S, we say. It's environmental and social. So we look at the environmental impact we have, but also our social aspects of our supply chain. And then the community. We sit in about 10,000 communities around the world. People that work in our store live in these communities. The people that supply us usually live in the region around this because of our local sourcing initiatives, et cetera. And so we feel like we have a real opportunity to engage our community. We empower our store managers to write their own grants and fund local programs. We respond to disasters. Last year alone, because of all those hurricanes, I think we donated $38 million just in those 3 hurricanes that hit Houston, Puerto Rico, and those reconstruction efforts. And then continue to look at ways to make our facilities more resilient so we can serve those communities in need. So, but I'm not going to go into the opportunity community too much. Sustainability is really who I work for and what you guys want to talk about. And so we think about that, sustainable operations, our own footprint, and then our value chain. And value chain is Walmart's word of saying supply chain. It's starting to be used more commonly, I think, but historically with supply chain, now we talk about value chain because it's about creating value upstream and even downstream with our customers. And so in those areas, again, I'll go into this more detail, but I could spend all day just on sustainable products alone. Some of our big targets for 2025, I said that we have an aspiration to get to 100% renewable. We're about 28% this year so far. We're going to get to 50% by 2025. We have an aspiration to get to zero waste. Globally, I think we're at 78% diversion today globally, which is really challenging internationally. In the US, it's more like 82, 83%. But we're going to get to zero waste in 4 key markets where we think the infrastructure exists to allow us to do that. And then I think Project Gigaton kept coming up, so that's the result of our commitment to remove 1 gigaton of emissions from our global value chain by 2030, in between 2015 and 2030. That's part of our science-based target. We also have a lot of focus on sustainable commodities, commodities being agricultural and food commodities like bananas and grapes and fibers and everything. And so I feel like I could just go on, but just wrapping up, deforestation, chemicals, we have plastic initiatives, and then, of course, responsible recruitment and more of that social side of what are we doing to enable, empower, and keep people safe that work in our supply chain. That's a lot. I'm gonna slow down here in a second. We also, as a retailer, have a unique opportunity to be a part of the circular economy. That's obvious, and I think we really have taken that on and are active in the Ellen MacArthur Foundation work, and really every day look for different aspects of how we contribute to the circular economy. And we feel like, as our e-commerce business grows, we really have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of cool stuff there. And again, we're still focused on selling products that are better for not only the environment, but for people. And we do that in many different ways. So that was just a snapshot of our kind of broader picture. I really encourage you to go to our website. We actually just released the full GRR, which is our Global Responsibility Report. This is a 62-page executive summary of the 200-page behemoth. And that's updated every year and sucks the life out of me every spring trying to get that together and document it. But it is our very transparent, we have all the numbers you'd ever want to know. And now it's online, so we finally moved away from just a boring PDF to an interactive digital experience, which we're really excited about. Okay, so before I go on, should I stop for questions now or just keep going? We've got 10 minutes left? Okay. I should just keep going then. We're going to make our time up at the end there. So sustainable operations. So this is what I focus on mainly. I've worked on both sides of the house, but in our operations, I think it's important for us because you got to walk the talk. Yeah, walk the talk. That's right. Before you can actually go and talk to suppliers about it. And so I think from the beginning it has been a focus on our own operations because that's where the business benefit lies as well. We were able to convince the leaders for every pound of or kilogram of emissions, there's $1 associated with that. And so you start tracking that, you start managing it, you're going to see cost savings. And so we've been successful since 2005. We've dropped our carbon intensity by about 30% while basically doubling the business. So the blue bar is revenues since 2005, and then the blue line is our carbon intensity. So we've been very good at kind of decoupling our emissions from growth, but we know that's not enough. And And so later I'll talk about our absolute emissions target, which is part of our science-based target. But for the most part, managing our emissions while growing at the rate that we've grown, it is a tale of kind of things are actually panning out that we hoped that they would. Our 4 main strategies for emissions reductions for our operations are pretty obvious, and they're tied to where our emissions are. And so it's about sourcing clean and renewable energy. We'll continue to focus on that. Improving energy efficiency, reducing our actual energy demand. That's pretty obvious. Being the world's biggest grocer, having refrigerated food in all of our stores. Refrigeration is a huge part of our strategy, and it's a challenging part. So I could spend all day talking about that as well. And then, of course, we have the biggest trucking fleet in the country. We own, thousands and thousands of trucks and trailers. And so focusing on efficiency of those equipment, alternative fuels, and other things to reduce our transport emission numbers. So just hitting on a couple of those. You might not be aware because we don't really do a lot of signage in our stores, but we have solar on almost 400 sites in the US, and that can be on the roof or in the parking lots. And 480 renewable projects on site at facilities around the world if you include our international. So we've really pioneered, been one of the first companies to do solar in South Africa. We're all over the United States, like I said, in 17 states. And yeah, so that, we're really proud of our on-site work. We have more sites than any company in the world right now. But yeah, we're still going on that. But I think the biggest opportunity is our off-site program. So we procure renewables from big wind farms, solar farms. We work both in deregulated areas and in regulated areas, like with utilities on different projects. We've got projects in Alabama, et cetera, that really didn't have many renewables before, a few years ago. Energy efficiency, we've been dropping our energy use intensity. This has always been our bread and butter because we're about cost savings, we're about lowering our SGA, and really, energy is, you can model that, you can define it, you can put dollars towards it. It requires big investments, but the payback is good. And then fleet efficiency, we had a goal from 2005 to 2015 of reducing our fleets, improving efficiency by half or cutting the emissions by half, and we were able to achieve that. And that saves us $1 billion a year in fuel costs. And we continue to just push the envelope here. Actually, today, I'm getting texted while I'm sitting here, pictures, because Tesla, we're doing test drives of the new Tesla tractor trailer that's in Bentonville today, and I would rather be here than driving in the new Tesla, but I'll get my chance. I'll get my chance. But we're on the docket to get like 15 of those in the US and about 90 in Canada when they come out, hopefully in the end of 2019, but we'll see. And we're also, not just Tesla, I don't try not to mention their brand because they're not the only ones. We're looking at all types of electric and alternative vehicles and actually have been testing different fuel types for years. Okay, so that's kind of our direct operations, but we also think about what we call is our logistical supply chain. And one of the cool things I just want to highlight is kind of this conversation that's going as retail models and the retail ecosystem changes. What is the most sustainable or low carbon way to get products to customers? And Amazon says one thing, and then we have to come out and kind of counterbalance that. And so we actually did a pretty extensive research here with a third-party agency, published a white paper last year, and really takes a deep look into this. And really compares, the model compares, brick and mortar, if you know what that means, just conventional stores, e-commerce, or omnichannel, omnichannel being a combination of both, okay? And so it depends. It depends on a number of different choices the consumer is making. It depends on what we're doing in our operations. And so I really, as an academic, a person that loves academia and was pursuing my PhD before I joined Walmart, I really think that there's a lot more work to be done here, but this white paper really sets the stage and gives you an understanding of the gray area. And we do believe that there are a lot of conditions where the most sustainable operations option is the brick and mortar or the omni-channel, where you order online, you pick up on your way home or something like that. So just take a look at that when you get a chance. I'm not doing justice to all these things, but I'm just going to keep going, highlights, and we can talk about it later. So I also oversee our strategy with land conservation, and it's probably the least known thing about Walmart. So I'm really going to talk about, just real quick, Acres for America. Maybe you haven't heard of it, maybe you have, but it started in 2005. Basically, we were known as the company that was contributing to urban sprawl, right? That's what big box stores in general. And so we thought hard about what we could do. We're still going to build these buildings, but what could we do to offset that impact or do something to, in recognition of land value? And so they launched this program, and the goal was to conserve forever 1 acre of land for every acre of land that we develop on, so including parking lots, including the store footprint. And we partnered with National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and it's been going on for 10 years, and we kind of kept quiet about it. We didn't want to come out early and say it was the greatest thing ever, and we're not thrilled about offsets in general, but this program really came a long way, and so this little short video will kind of encapsulate that.
Acres for America, a partnership between the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and Walmart, stands as the largest and most effective public-private land conservation effort in the United States today. Since its establishment in 2005, this extraordinary program has funded 80 projects and helped to protect more than 1.3 million acres. In 2017, 8 outstanding projects received grants to conserve vital habitat across the nation, from California to the Carolinas. In California, Acres for America is supporting the largest conservation project in the history of Los Angeles County. There, preservation of native habitat on a 6,000-acre ranch will benefit iconic and imperiled species such as the California condor and Southern California steelhead. In eastern North Carolina, the purchase of 5,200 acres of forest habitat along 11 miles of the Waccamaw and Black Rivers will provide essential habitat for more than 100 wildlife species, while at the same time creating new public access for hiking, hunting, and boating activities. Acres for America conserves critical wildlife habitat and connects protected lands to safeguard wildlife migrations. The program supports local economies that depend on forestry, ranching, and recreation, and provides new and increased access so everyone can experience the wonder of America's natural places.
So how many had heard about Acres for America before? 1, 2 people. All right, we're doing a great job. Yeah. So, so like I said, nobody knows about it. We're trying to change that, and we're looking at different ways to do that. But extremely proud of that. In the first 10 years, for every acre we did develop, we ended up conserving 10 acres. And so in total, about over 1.3 million acres have been conserved through the program, which is equivalent to the size of the Grand Canyon. And the way that NFWF, or National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, has done this is started to connect corridors of migration. And so they'll say that it's 1 million acres, but it's connecting 10 million acres of conservation land, which is like really cool for us. And we work with them. We don't have any direct say on which projects they select. It's totally third party. But we have worked with them on areas that overlap with our sustainability agenda and just kind of try to work together on critical areas of the country. Right now, I think we're in, 32 states. We have a goal to hit 50 by the end of the next 10 years. So we signed up for another 10 years on this. So we're in our second 10 years of the program, and just excited about that. Well, 0 time. So I got 5 minutes just to touch base on gig time. We'll still have room for questions, I think. But before I jump into Gigaton, which is relatively recent, I just want to reiterate that Walmart has engaged with suppliers honestly since the outset of the 2005 launch. I mean, we weren't going to do this together, but I think we really got the ball rolling thanks to the Sustainability Consortium, the Applied Science Center, different groups that we brought together to create a science-based metric system to evaluate products and our suppliers, both their own operations but the product categories. And we set out trying to actually put almost a label on every product and carbon footprint on every product, which is like impossible to do and still is challenging today, even in the age of blockchain and things like that. But someday, maybe. But we ended up landing in the middle and being able to evaluate. So today, about 70% of our business in terms of purchase is covered by the Sustainability Index. So over 2,000 suppliers report to this about the products that they sell to us. And they're held accountable. Like these actually scorecards are brought to buyer meetings where the buyer has last year's score for that merchant, and they talk about are they green, red, yellow, and over the years we've seen actually we've been able to, using the same KPIs, see progress and move the needle on many of these suppliers. And these aren't our environmental, these aren't the 7 generations. These are our big brands that are doing great stuff. With or without Walmart, they'd be doing great stuff, but I think we're there constantly asking them about and tell us about what you're doing, and then we've seen things go from red to green, and then we have to move the green out to make that more challenging. So that's been happening since about 2009, I think was the first survey. There was a packaging scorecard before that, and then 2012 it really got ramped up, and we were noted in the Scientific American, that program actually as a world-changing idea. So that we're excited about that. And that those type of projects have led to this recognition that we're really trying to influence our supply chain. But like I said, that was the first 10 years. And so he announced our aggressive goals for the next 10 years, which included our science-based target. And so we're the first retailer, a global retailer, to set a science-based target. So that's an emissions reduction plan that was in alignment with the low carbon pathway for by 2050 that Vance had mentioned. And so that requires, if you have more than 50% of your impact is in your supply chain or in Scope 3, you've got to have a Scope 3 goal as well, for those that are familiar with it. So we had to come out with a Scope 3 goal, which is very challenging for a company of our size, but we landed on something big, hairy, and ambitious, I think, and 1 billion metric tons, which said another way is 1 gigaton, and that's kind of where that term came from. And last year in April, we launched Project Gigaton, which is our platform, a supplier engagement platform around this goal. And it focuses on basically 6 main pillars. So each of these pillars are areas where we're asking suppliers to kind of join us on our journey and set ambitious targets for yourself. Ideally, you're also setting science-based target across your enterprise as well. That's the #1 priority. But if you're not ready to do that, let's focus on one of these 6 categories. You can do something. Please join us, sign up, do something, get started. And we've had a great first year. And companies like Colgate have come out and really made us just overwhelmed with what they're capable of. And I think the excitement, it was right around the time I think the administration was changing hands and people were debating whether EPA was going to get, would exist. And so I think the timing was great early, not for that particular part, but for Project Gigaton to kind of come keep the momentum in the corporate sphere. And so I think that kind of helps with this. And so we're glad to play that role. We think businesses do play a big role. We think businesses can lead. And so these are the 6 priority areas. Each one has multiple initiatives that companies can set targets in. They can also are asked to report on their initiatives every year. And so I'm not going to go through all 6, but I'll just stop on one of them. So I lead the energy pillar. And this actually has a couple ways where you can actually engage with us, and it's energy efficiency, renewable projects, renewable transition to low carbon energy projects, and then if you have a fleet, you can commit to something there. And so for each of these, we have calculators where companies can either calculate their own emissions if they haven't done that before, or we work with CDP to, if they're already reporting to CDP, we actually funnel part of their answers directly into Project Gigaton. They have to opt in and sign up and everything. We can't do it without their okay, but we've tried to make it, I guess the point is we're trying to make it seamless, not additive, because these companies, there's almost supplier fatigue at some point, and we want to not do that and just get to the good stuff and away from just monotonous reporting. So if you want to learn more, you can go to Walmart Sustainability Hub, and yeah, just learn more. There's a big website where we lead you in all kinds of directions, and we have webinars to help train our suppliers and try to get them engaged, and then, yeah, different workshops over the course of the years and stuff. So that is my last slide, but I did want to finish with a short video, and then we'll have questions.
We've been working together on sustainability for some time now. Some of us before it was called sustainability. And we sometimes get asked, why are you still working on that? Or do you really think you're making a difference? To that, we tell them it's been pretty good for our business. It's pushing us to think differently, to innovate. We're working with new companies and organizations to achieve things we never could have done alone. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do, and our customers noticed. So when they ask us, are you still working on that? We tell them, we're just getting started. Will you join us? Saving people money so they can live better today and for generations to come.
Okay, thank you. Now I need to go brush my teeth now. But yeah, so we have some time for questions, and
you don't need me. You can raise your hand. You can just run with it.
okay, good. And we don't have Michael Phelps here, but to speak for, but we have Vance. And to be honest, the first time I saw that video and I saw that tan body and the red Speedo swim under, I thought it was going to be you, and it was like I was so disappointed when.
Walmart has more muscle than anybody else. I trained school bus driver for 8 years. Just retired, but the engines, right? Diesel engines only get like 9 miles per gallon at most. There is a way to go up to actually do a better system using alcohol and water. And it's been done in the okay. There is a way to convert the diesel engines to burn alcohol and water, and we saw this down in the 70s. They took a tractor with a turbo engine, and it gets 40% more fuel efficiency and 50% more horsepower. And so the tractors with their deflectors, the wind deflectors, that's a place where the alcohol and water tank could be stored.
Yep.
I don't know whether you're familiar with this or not, but the M&W Engineering is the ones who had developed this. They crank it on diesel, get it warming up, and then it goes over to the alcohol.
Yeah,
water.
I mean, I imagine if it's out there and a viable product, like, and it has a.
No, it's not there. It's not there.
It's not
no.
viable.
But
well, then
what I'm trying to tell you is, with your muscle, you could have Freightliner to actually make those trucks available to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we, like I said, we have I wouldn't call it an R&D arm, but a little bit of an R&D arm, especially in the truck division, because we own this fleet. We work hand in hand with our, big manufacturers. So as those innovations come out, I mean, we're willing to test everything, and then we'll just see what works. And some things that have come over the years just didn't fit our needs because of our operating conditions or costs, or they're just too early. And we let someone else bake on it for a while and then bring it back to us because, we're a big fleet and it's a big part of our business. So, but I appreciate it. And I love those kind of innovations that start from a garage and then kind of merge into something real.
I've got the mic, so I'm just going to ask my question. I'm curious. I will say one of the happiest days was when my kids got out of diapers and I was like, I don't have to go to Walmart every week because that was before online shopping. But I'm curious, what you've shared today is an image of Walmart that I think most people don't have. And what we see is low prices every day. So can you speak a little bit about the decision around marketing? Because you're very successful. You could market more of these practices that could attract a different clientele or different population. So I'm just kind of curious about what that decision making is like to not promote this more.
Yeah, Yeah, so, I mean, that's a great question, and we're frustrated about that, obviously, being on the team that wants to talk about it all the time. But, you know, we are a cost-conscious company, even when it comes to marketing. And we actually have a very small marketing budget compared to what you might think it would be, especially for some other brands that their brand is their image. So we have to be frugal about how we spend it. And so far, you know, we have a very good understanding of our consumers. And our consumers are basically an image of the U.S. population in the U.S. because, you know, we're within 50 miles of every person here and or in the United States on average. And so I think what we're seeing, though, I mean, historically, when we started on this journey, customers didn't want to, you know, hear it, or at least our customers didn't. Maybe there was a small fraction, but it wasn't worth you know, putting Super Bowl commercials up about sustainability. But I think what is exciting is that it's changing. As millennials start to have families, and whatever's after millennials starts to, you know, go into the workforce and have mortgages and, you know, are more cost conscious, we feel like there is an opportunity. And that's why you can see our CEO talking about trust and transparency, speaking at Net Impact, which is a MBA you know, group. And I think online, we're kind of starting online right now with our jet.com and some of our e-commerce brands that are more millennial focused. You can see us changing some of the way we've structured our products and create little digital shelving and stuff. But to really go into each of our stores, you know, all 5,000, 6,000 stores, and change all the signage to be sustainably oriented is a Herculean effort. And you can see tidbits of that. So if you see a store that's been remodeled in the last 3 years, you'll see the seafood section and the fresh produce section does highlight our small farmer programs, our 100% certified seafood. All the seafood we sell is 100% MSC certified seafood. So you can see these things showing up. It's not, we don't talk about every category. We don't talk about packaging on every shelf, just not yet. So we're kind of following the customer. And we're going to, you know, when the time's right, you'll see more and more. And I think on food specifically, that's where we're starting. And then outside of that, I think we're excited about the ability to do target marketing. You know, before it was, you know, publish an ad and it went to everybody. Now you can kind of do target marketing. And we think, you know, you can kind of do an a la carte of almost on every topic that someone cares about, we're doing something. And so just finding out what they care about and then, you know, and telling them the story. Otherwise, you know, and we know exactly what the general person in America, or more or less, cares about. And so we focus on that with our big marketing dollars. And then, you know, some of this other opportunities, we're starting to do it. But yeah, more broadly, we're not talking to the consumers as much as I wish we were.
May I add to that comment or question?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that was the one shot. We had one shot at that question. We're done. We're moving. Yeah.
Perhaps Walmart's most sustainable aspect as far as the social impact they have is that they have low prices. Because, for example, the mom of 4 that works 2 jobs, going in to buy school supplies, getting them at an affordable price like that at just to list maybe a competitor, a Dollar General or a Walmart, is going to be the most sustainable aspect socially that you all provide.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that. I think we would agree with that, is that was always the first social aspect that we were able to influence, was the cost of everyday living, right? Now I think we're looking to not only low cost, but convenience and speed. So all of our omni-channel, home delivery, all of our pickup, you know, we've rolled out pickup where you can order online and just pull up. You don't have to go into our stores. I know people don't like going into big stores. You just sit in your car and wait for someone to load your car. So can we do these things in the most sustainable way possible from the start? We have a chance to really rethink these retail and product delivery ecosystems in the most, you know, optimized for sustainability way. And that's, you know, that study I showed you, the white paper, that's kind of leading us to figure out where do we need to be focused from the packaging, from our e-commerce division to, you know, what do we do? Do we have cars sitting and idling, you know, at our stores waiting for their pickup, or do we ask them to turn off their car? I mean, all these things are are happening behind the scenes to help shape that. But yeah, starting with low price. Can we do it low price, quick, fast, convenient, and also the most sustainable option? That's the grand challenge that we're really aiming for. Because if you go for 100% organic, sustainable, Rainforest Alliance, all these different certifications cost money. There's embedded costs in those. We think over time, as the markets for these grow, those costs will come down. And we're trying to influence that so that you don't have to choose between the green product and the regular conventional product because of price. You can just choose a product and it's better, it's the best that it could be and optimized for sustainability. So that's what all these programs kind of lead to that goal.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm a student here, so I just wanted to thank you for coming to Appalachian to speak to us and for everyone who put on this amazing event. But I wanted to ask you, because Walmart is such a big, amazing brand, my education background, I guess, I'm studying sustainable development. So I just wanted to ask, in terms of like human rights, water scarcity, climate change, companies big as Walmart, like how do you leverage that to solve these issues? Where do you see yourself as a corporation having the biggest impact as far as all of these, so many sustainability issues? And I see you're taking many different
pass it to
approaches.
Vance.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to take that one? And I'll add, or? Oh. You have a microphone there.
Hi, so I wouldn't want to speak specifically about Walmart, but as a supplier to Walmart, I guess, I think it depends. So Project Gigaton to me is a great example. So that's for the issue of climate change, to have a global initiative from a big supplier that is a surrogate in sense for regulation or government in a way, right? Because there's no other government in the world that's put together this kind of, say, requirement or structure to reduce 1 billion tons of carbon. So when a company like Walmart as a customer says, hey, we'd like you suppliers to all do this, we try to do our best to do it because they're our customer. So the scale that they have on impact, and the whole thing Joby talked about today, truthfully to me, is without them, there wouldn't have been a lot of movement on some of these issues. Not just from Colgate, from a lot of companies. Awareness and action came from, when somebody says it's important, and if it's important to Walmart, it's going to be important to their suppliers. So I don't know if on social issues, if it may be a different answer. But something like carbon or something like water and on all these goals that they set forward puts into motion thousands and thousands of suppliers doing something. So I think that, to me, that's the message of Walmart. Their operations they take care of, that's fine, but the power of them is they trickle that down to so many other suppliers that nobody else has the scale to do. So I don't know if that answers your question completely, but.
Yeah, just you're asking about how big companies can leverage to do these things. And I think you said it perfectly, but the only thing I'd add is I don't think even Walmart would have done these things if it wasn't ready. Whether it's sustainability or other topics, we're always, by our leadership, asked to set goals. I think that is honestly one of the things that has, when Lee Scott set those aspirations, nobody knew anything about renewable energy. We sold calculators with solar things on it probably, but I think we had just opened a store with 10 panels on it or something, and it wasn't cost effective, and we said we'd never do that again. So, but he still set the goal. So, and since then we've figured it out. When you set these targets, it gets people motivated, it gets people aligned, and people working for a corporation, when they're sitting in their cubicle, whether they're doing counting or tax or lawn maintenance, they want to know that what they're doing is contributing to something that's going to make the world better. And I think these type of initiatives these companies are doing are great at that. And for us, the only reason I'm at Walmart is because of what Lee Scott did, right? And it brings talent in. Not that I'm talented, but I'm just saying, it's an important part of creating a sustainable business is continuing to bring young and talented people, and I think these messages resonate with them. So. And for us, it's also about, I mean, behind the scenes, like, I'll stop talking on this one, but one of the things that makes me so proud of being able to share some of this stuff is that I work for Walmart, which is the cheapest company in terms of, like, frugal company on our costs. Like, every dollar is scrutinized. I mean, even my trip here, you know, goes through some kind of little bit of a review for cost savings. And so when I show these sustainability things, they're not greenwashing. Like, these are things that made us, either we could do with no additional cost, or we were making, you know, reducing costs or making more money from it. I mean, you showed the increased sales from the campaigns. So there is business value, and I think that was probably the first driver. Now it's business value plus reputation and winning over the future consumer.
Thank you for your presentation. I think it's long been hoped that the investor community would care about sustainability. And with what you just said about the business value driver, I'm curious, as we've seen increases in responsible investment and a little bit more activity in the last 2-3 years, are you seeing that all at Walmart and investor interest in this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've been reporting to CDP since 2006. You probably the same around that time, when it was like 5 questions and like 1 page. Now, I was actually up until midnight last night reviewing our 138 page submission, and it is being reviewed by our CSO, our chief accountant, our chief risk compliance officer. Like, from when I started to manage that process in 2011, you know, maybe the sustainability people knew about it and some people in finance, but now it's like top of investor relations. Everybody's looking at what we're putting out there and that it's accurate and reflective of our actual, and so that is all because of the movement in the ESG world and the climate. We did our climate risk assessment last year, first comprehensive climate risk assessment. We've done one-offs, you know, over the years. That's all, I think, in response to the stepping up of the ESG community, ESG, environmental, social, governance, you know, metrics and focus. And so we have our key investors that we meet with regularly in I-10 meetings to talk about our program sometimes. So they're asking questions, they're asking smart questions, smarter questions. It used to be kind of dumb questions, but wait, I shouldn't say that. But, you know, they're more informed now, or there's still a long ways to go. We think some of the ESG metrics could be improved and could be more effective in directing people towards the right outcomes, but it's a start, and certainly it gives me more, you know, more work and more value for what the work we do.
Okay, thanks for letting me ask this one last question. Hi, my name is Joanna. I'm a super senior. So thank you for taking time to talk to us today. So going back to the second point that you made about like your goals now in the next 10 years, the second one that I had starred because you mentioned that this is like a huge priority is whole system change. So going off of that, you know, you mentioned the guidelines for companies to reduce packaging and emissions and all that. But from a social sustainability standpoint, are there any guidelines now or in the works for factory production and safety and a living wage for those who are making the products for these companies that supply Walmart?
Yeah, absolutely. So on one of those slides, and I don't do that topic justice because I just don't spend enough time close to it, but we have a commitment around worker dignity, which, you know, inside that word are a number of different, what is worker dignity, you know, enhancing worker dignity in our supply chain. Not our associates, obviously, is an opportunity, but in that one bullet there's a lot of meat. And because, I mean, we source from, like I said, 100,000 suppliers who source from suppliers who's, I mean, I was asking somebody about how many people are actually employed by our supply chain. Nobody really knows, but, and they wouldn't let me say it publicly anyways, if I did know, but it's a lot. It's a lot of people. And you know, and we're, you know, that's a big risk too, because what happens in a Bangladesh, you know, fire or Thailand tuna fishing operations, like that, even if we didn't actually cut the check or make the decision, and it was like a supplier thing, that has a potential impact on us. That's one thing, risk management, but then mitigation. But it's also about doing the right thing for, you know, and living up to our core principles about respecting the individual, you know, foundational things have been with us since the beginning. So we have a whole group called Responsible Sourcing, which is an entire team dedicated towards that topic. And they actually, have their own scorecarding. I think I was reading and trying to get some of these numbers. They did 13,000 audits last year. They're evaluating on all number of different social indicators, safety, health and safety in these operations. Patagonia, I applaud them. They're very, they talk about it a lot. They actually even publish like who they're sourcing from, because they have 100 companies that supply them. We have way many more than that. And so we don't share that information publicly, but you can trust me, and we talk about it in our sustainability book, is that there's a team that's probably the best in the industry working on this because of those business drivers I just mentioned.